Hello everyone, this is Aaron Johnson with the Johnson iRacing team bringing you part 3 in our ongoing series where we're painting a street stock in the Diet Coke livery as a tutorial so that you guys can see how I use paint.net to create simple and sometimes maybe even slightly more complex paint schemes. We had finished up the last tutorial by adding the Diet Coke logos to both the left and right rear quarter panels and the hood, and I think the next thing we're going to do is to add some numbers. To do that, I added a numbers, back over here, I added a numbers layer. So I wanted a new layer that's just for numbers. And the first thing that we need to do here is we've got to go to our number block locations, turn that on, and you see that those are opaque. We can't see where the numbers are going to go. So I'm going to use the wrench tool and I'm going to make these transparent, probably go down to about 120. And now I can see through the number slots, so I can leave those visible as I put numbers on the car. The second thing I need to do is I want to try to make numbers that are the same color as the Coke part of Diet Coke. So I want bright red numbers with some kind of black shadow. And the shadow in this tends to be down and a little bit to the right. As you can see here, there's a shadow below and to the right of the lettering. I want the shadows and the numbers to fit. To do that, I'm going to have to put in two sets of numbers. I tend to prefer impact. I've tried a lot of other numbers, but for zeros, and that's our family number, the 00 is the family number, zeros tend to look best here. So I'm going to go ahead and I'm going to take the eyedropper tool. I'm going to pick black. That's not what I wanted because I'm not on the right thing. I've got to be on the sponsors level to pick black. So now I've got black picked. I'm going to go back up to numbers. I'm going to go to text. I've got this set at 250. I do like impact to be in italic. I'm going to go ahead and on the main screen here, I'm just going to put in a 00 and I'm going to move this around using my palm tool on the movement screen. I'm going to move it to where that 0 is about, I think I need to move it a little bit further to the left. I want it just to the right of center and just below center. So I think that looks pretty good, just like that. And I'm going to go ahead and hit the escape button and I'm going to lock those zeros in. Now I'm going to go back to my color picker. This time I'm going to pick red. Again, I've got to make sure I'm on the sponsors level. So I'm going to pick red. Now I've got red numbers. I'm going to go back over here to my numbers layer. Right, see, so if I shut this off, the number is going to disappear. So I want to be on my numbers layer. I'm going to go to text. Everything's going to stay the same. I'm going to put in two more zeros. These are going to be bright red. And now I'm going to drag them until they make a shadow that fits what I would like to see for my shadow. And I think that's pretty good just like that. I kind of like that. So I'm going to go ahead and escape out. I'm going to turn the number block locations off. And let's turn the base paint on to see what that looks like. I think that white with the bright red and black is going to look really good. Turn the number locations back on where we can see. I don't quite like where this is centered, so I'm going to go ahead and grab my square tool. I'm going to highlight these guys, and I'm going to move this just a little bit to the left. So I'm going to grab my movement. I'm going to move this just a little to the left to where that number is pretty much centered in the box. Okay? And that looks pretty good. Now I'm going to go ahead and hit the escape button and turn those number block locations off. So I've added a number here to my 00 car. I think it's going to look pretty good. I need to get a number on the other door. I need to get one on the roof. And I like for the numbers to lean the same way on both sides of the car. So I could, if I did this on the other side, I could just flip this 180 degrees, but the numbers would be leaning toward the rear of the car. And I really like the numbers to lean forward. That's my preference. So I want to find a way to make this so that my numbers are leaning forward. To do that, I'm going to hit the select button. I'm going to copy. And then I think I'm going to come over here where the Coke layer is. I'm going to maybe I'm just going to delete all that. I'm going to go ahead and hit the eraser button here, and I'm going to make it nice and big. I'm just going to erase everything that's in here. Go back over to this side now. and I'm going to hit the copy button. I'm going to come in here and I'm going to paste. I'm going to expand the canvas so that this fits. I don't like that there's blue right there, so I think I'm going to erase that because I really don't like it. And so that's my 0. Now what I want to do is I want to go to image and I want to flip horizontal. So now I've basically inverted my zeros. I'm going to grab my magic wand. I'm going to select all the black using the shift key. Then I'm going to use control to select the red. Then I'll copy, go back here and hit the paste function. And now I'll be able to drag this 0 into position. I want the number block function turned on, and that's going to allow me to put this right in the same position where my other zeros are as well. And that looks pretty good. So I like that quite a lot. I think that looks pretty good. Now, since I'm already here, I'm going to copy this image and I'm going to paste it, and I'm going to grab it and I'm going to pull it up here onto the roof. It's not big enough, so I'm going to grab the shift key. I'm going to put my hand over this corner and I'm going to pull. If I use the shift key, that image changes size proportionally. If I don't use the shift key, it doesn't necessarily. So if I don't use the shift key, I can accidentally change the size of that image. I don't want to do that. So I'm going to undo. I'll move back forward here and I'm just going to grab this and I'm going to expand it until I feel like it's the right size to fill up the roof block. And this is something that I usually just kind of do by eye, but I think that's pretty close. We're going to center it inside, and so now we've got 3 of our 5 number slots filled. We still have to fill this number slot that's on the right rear tail light and the number slot that's on the left front headlight. And we can do that in a couple of ways. Those tend to mimic what's on the driver's door here, so I'm going to go ahead and I'm going to grab my tool. I'm going to select that, then I'm going to copy it, then I'm going to paste it. I'm going to grab my movement handle here. I'm going to slide this big baby up here. I'm just going to grab this corner. I'm going to resize it, slide it over, resize it, slide it over. I like for the numbers to fill the box. I want the numbers to fill that box in. See, I accidentally changed the proportions there. I didn't really want to do that. So I like for the numbers to fill that box. That looks pretty good. Maybe it just needs to be a touch smaller. I like that. And now I'm going to go ahead and copy. And I'm going to paste this guy, and then I'm going to grab him, and I'm just going to slide him over here. And I'm going to do the same thing. I need to resize so that it fills that box. I think it could be just a touch smaller. Right, so now I've got all my numbers on. I'm going to go ahead and hit the escape button. I'm going to go ahead and turn the number block locations off, and now we've got our Diet Coke car with the Diet Coke sponsors on the rear quarters and on the hood, and our bright red and black Diet Coke numbers on the sides. What's the next step? Well, it depends on what you like to do. I like to have a car that's got plenty of racing decals on it. I like for these cars to have stickers. I like those stickers to look good. I want those stickers to reflect the kinds of businesses that I hold dear. And there are a couple of ways you can do it. On some cars, I'll actually recolor the stickers if I can to match the paint scheme. On others, I want them to just look like the decals that we would have on our race car. The problem we've got working in white here is it's really hard to see the wireframe, so I'm going to turn the base paint off so that I've got more contrast with that wireframe. And that's going to allow us to be able to more easily place the decals that we want to place. Now, we're about, what are we? We're about 6 minutes into this piece of the tutorial. I'm trying to keep them at 15 minutes or less. But if we're going to do a decal layer, we need a new layer for that. So I'm going to hit new layer. I'm going to use the wrench. I'm going to call this decals. And then I'm just going to click the OK button. Now, because I've done a lot of painting, I have found tons and tons of racing decals. But if you wanted to find a racing decal, you go back to Google, and you would pick the racing part supplier of your choice. I'm a big fan of Crane cams, so I'm going to type in Crane cams logo transparent PNG, and then I'm going to click images, and that's going to pull up all kinds of options. There's one from PNG item, here's one from Freebie Supply, here's competition cams, which isn't really what I was looking for. But if I were looking for it, I could go to PNG item, I'd click on this link, and then I'd do the same thing that we did before. And this is going to be our download button here. And we could certainly do that and download it. But I've already got some of these downloaded. I was just kind of walking you through how we might go about doing that. So I'm going to go back over here to my project. I'm going to go to File. I'm going to go to Open. And in my iRacing file, I have a folder that is nothing but racing decals. So I'm going to go into my racing decals file, and I've got 3 iterations of Crane cams. I've got a gold Crane cams, the red factory, and then a white factory. So I'm going to go ahead and open the red Crane cams. It's going to open here in its new location. I want to resize the image. I'm going to guess here that this is going to need to be about, to look like a sticker, is going to need to be about 45 pixels. That's my guess. That's going to make the height 12. That's probably too small. Let's make the height about 18. That should be pretty good. We're going to use the magic wand. We're going to hit the shift, and since it's all red, we're just going to click on a red button here. And we're going to hit copy. We're going to come over here, and we're going to paste that big baby in. Then we're going to grab it, pull it down here. That's too small. You can tell by looking at it that's not big enough. I'm going to go ahead and delete that. Go back over here to Crane cams. We're going to go to image. We're going to go resize, and instead of 18 pixels, we're going to make it more like 30. We're going to hit the OK button. Same thing. We're going to take the magic wand. We're going to use the shift key because it's going to select everything that's red. Then we'll copy. Come back to our primary paint. We're going to hit paste. We have decals highlighted. We're going to grab this decal. We're going to pull it down. That looks pretty good. Now, where do we want our Crane cams decal? I kind of like it here just as that fender contour starts to come out. We can see that fender contour line here. I kind of like it right there, so I'm going to go ahead and put it in place. I come over here. I'm going to go to image. I'm going to rotate it 180. I'm going to select it. Then I'm going to copy. Come back over here to my Diet Coke car. I'm going to paste. Then I'm going to move this image to about the same spot on the other side of the car. It was just below that line. So we want it to be just below that line and just inboard of it. So that looks pretty good in terms of the location of the Crane cams decal. Now we can put as many decals on the car as we'd like. We've got all kinds of room. We've got room for other sponsors if we want. If we turn on the sponsor block locations, you can see that there's often a secondary sponsor right here. And so we may very well find a secondary sponsor to put in that location, but we can repeat this process to put as many decals as we would like on our Diet Coke machine. I think for purposes of our tutorial though, I'm going to stop here, and I'll pick up next time after I've completed the decal layer, because it doesn't make any sense for me to show you putting 50 decals on this car if I'm putting 8 or 10 on each side. All that's going to do is take up your time and make it even harder. So I think I'm going to go ahead and stop part 3 right here. For the Johnson iRacing team on the Johnson iRacing Network, this is Aaron Johnson saying, go fast, turn left, have fun.